So we are going to do align and hold today version 3. So I have my little timer over here and I will go ahead and set it off. I guess before we start, giving a thumbs up to a 1-minute timer that only I can hear, or do you guys want to be able to hear every minute that goes off? Thumbs up if you want to hear it, thumbs down if it's okay for just me to hear it. Great, and we got a middle. So I'm just going to record it so I can hear it and you guys can hear it, and I'll let you know when your minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes are up for each shape. So with that being said, just as it is with every time we do this, the first 2 to 3 minutes are yours. So I encourage you to take this time right now to do whatever feels most appropriate, most calling to you and your body in this moment. And really, this is just an opportunity for you to check in. Our practice today is going to be focused on 2 things. We're just going to focus first and foremost on really listening to and finding symmetry and balance in the breath. And then the second thing we'll work on today is really finding stillness when we're still. I found that this week I used that as the sort of mantra for my meditation practice, this notion of just be still. And it was interesting how challenging that was, just noticing when thoughts came up and if I could return to a state of stillness, noticing when the impulse to move came up and if I could just return to being still. And so we're going to take these first I'm going to take these first 2 minutes now to just notice what we noticed, to breathe. And again, you're just taking a moment to check in. How's your body? How's the breath? What feelings, sensations are you experiencing in this moment? Have 1 more minute. And you're just pausing and you're checking in and you're noticing what you notice. So Laura, we are just taking this next 30 seconds to feel into our body before we take our first shape. And then gently, you'll start to bring yourself to a hands and knees tabletop position. At this moment, I would encourage you to bring your blocks down to the floor if you have them and you're using them, and you can put them on their second setting. And then you'll walk your elbows onto the block. You'll walk your knees back enough, and then you'll separate your knees as wide as they need to be to start to press your bum back towards your heels. Maybe army crawl your elbows forward a little bit more, and then start to allow your head to descend towards the floor. Now, if you're working without blocks, you just come to a straight up child's pose with your arms extended in front of you. And then we'll take the next 2 minutes here to really just settle into the shape. Now, as best as you can in this shape, I want you to start to just count the length of your inhalation, and then start to match the length of your exhalation to the length of your inhalation. So if your in breath is 4 counts, your out breath becomes 4 counts. If your in breath is 6 counts, your out breath becomes 6 counts. Excuse me. And it doesn't matter how long it is. It just matters that you start to notice how long the breath is. And through our practice today, that is going to be our anchor. That is going to be what allows our mind to rest. It's just simply counting the length of your breath. So you count the breath coming in and you count the breath going out. And then as you continue to just set that as your internal metronome, as it were, you'll start to notice that thoughts will come up. You'll start to notice that the body may want to fidget. You'll start to know that certain feelings come up. And in all of that, I invite you to return to this state of just observing those things while remaining connected to, attached to your breath. You've got 1 more minute in this shape. And I want you to just notice the breath, really continuing to count it, allowing that to be the anchor through every shape we take today. You might begin to observe that as you just simply work with the breath, it changes. It might become a little longer, especially in this shape. And at other times it might become a little shorter. And all you do is just simply count and simply watch. Take 2 more breath cycles here. And then gently, you'll inhale and come forward to hands and knees, tabletop position. Go ahead and remove those blocks if you were using them. Plant your hands directly underneath your shoulders and spread wide through your fingers. From here, arch your spine so your gaze comes forward and your tailbone lifts. And as you exhale, start to tuck the toes under, lift the hips high, and come towards a downward facing dog. And we'll start this first one with our knees being pretty bent. Press the hands down and forward, lift the outer hips up, the inner thighs back. And again, return your awareness to the length of your breath. How long is it here? So we're going to try today to really be still. So no micro adjustments, no little fidgets. Instead, just let your awareness rest on the breath. How long is the inhalation? Is it 5 counts? Is it 6 counts? How long is the exhalation? Can it be the same 5 counts and the same 6 counts, whatever it was for the in-breath? And you'll start to observe that as you anchor your awareness on the breath, little things might come up. You might notice that little parts of the body want to twitch. You might notice that you want to fidget a little bit, or the eyes start to move around. And as best as you can, notice that and then come back to the breath, letting the breath be the anchor, letting you notice how long your in-breath is and how long your out-breath is. You've got 1 more minute here. And again, just continue to breathe. Maybe by focusing on the breath, you might find that it again starts to lengthen a little bit. Maybe you can gently extend the breath 1 count. Maybe you can gently extend the breath 2 counts. And the word gently is very intentional here. We don't want to cause any strain or stress. So you're just simply observing the breath and trying to match the exhalation to the length of the inhalation to the length of the exhalation. Take your last 2 breath cycles here. And then you'll gently inhale, gaze to your hands, and exhale, bend your knees and start to walk towards your face. When you get to the top of your space, you might slide a block between your inner upper shin bones. And then either grab opposite elbow, bend your knees as much as you need to, and just let the head dangle down and maybe hands touch the floor, or you're grabbing that opposite elbow, whichever one feels best to you. But again, your awareness comes back to your breath, seeing if you can bring the body to complete stillness. There will be involuntary things that come up, and you just simply notice those. And then notice how long your breath is. Notice how long the exhalation is, keeping the inhale and the exhale as even, as balanced as can be. And also noticing where your eyes are. Can your eyes stay fixed on a steady point? Notice if there's any movement wanting to happen in the body, and see if you can allow it to be still. Just focusing entirely on the breath. How long is your in-breath? And how long is your out-breath? This type of practice is called a Laya practice. It's also called a lunar practice. And really what we're focusing on today is stabilizing the mind, calming it first, and then finding a sense of support and stability in that calmness so that we can be effective in our lives in the way we wish to be. All right, gently exhale all of your breath. And on your next in-breath, you'll slide your hands up your shins, lift your spine halfway. Hands might even come to the tops of your thighs if you need to, but draw your spine parallel to the floor. Press the back of your skull lightly up towards the sky as you draw your chin towards your chest. Now, again, here, the invitation is to come to stillness and just focus on the breath. How long is your inhalation? How long is your exhalation? Seeing if you can find an evenness to that. And noticing if the in-breath changes, meaning sometimes it's 6 counts and sometimes it's 7 or sometimes it's 3. You're just observing. You've got 2 more breath cycles here, so if you can remain still and just focus on the breath. The end of your next exhalation, go ahead and bend your knees and maybe touch your fingers to the floor. From here, keep your knees super bent, your spine super straight. Start to hinge back and sit into chair pose. Hands might reach forward like little zombies. They might come to prayer, or they might reach up and overhead. But you're going to see how low you can sit in your bum. And then bring yourself to a still neutral spot. So how long is the inhalation? How long is the exhalation? Stay connected to that as you steady your gaze. And you just witness all the stuff that comes up. Return as the anchor back to your breath. How long is your in-breath? How long is your out-breath? Can you bring these 2 things to a state of equanimity and keep that consistent over the length of the time that you're in the shape? So one of the things that they talk about, they take major sages and ancient teachers, is that they say you've mastered an asana when your breathing can remain balanced and equal the entire time you're in this shape. It can remain smooth and effortless. And so you're just noticing how that's going for you right now. Can you remain still? Just notice all the wobbles in the body. Notice any fidgets, and just stay anchored to your breath. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. Nice work. And then on your next inhalation, inhale, stand up, reach up, look up, keep your arms up and overhead, and we'll stay here for our next hold. Your gaze can be forward or it can be slightly up, but I want you to notice what's happening to the breath. How long is your inhale? How long is your exhale? Can you bring these two to a state of equalness and evenness? Meaning you don't want to force the breath to be longer than it needs to be, where you're on empty, but you're still counting. Can you still just follow the length of the breath, counting it as it goes, and just trying to meet it where it is? Take one more breath cycle in here. And at the end of your next exhalation, you'll simply lower your arms down towards the side. Notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and remove that block. And then you're going to step your left foot back for extended side angle. So step your left foot back, right knee forward. You can bring your left forearm to the top of your left thigh or the left hand down to the block or the floor. And then you'll extend your left arm up and over your head. And all of you have done this shape a numerous amount of times. So I trust that you know how to be in this shape. And I want you to, again, bring your awareness back to the breath. How long is your inhalation? How long is your exhalation? Notice that perhaps this shape has changed what feels more comfortable for you. Perhaps you might notice that the inhale feels a little bit different than it did in some of the previous shapes. For some of you, it might be the complete reverse. It does not matter what it is that you're noticing. It just simply matters that you're noticing. Notice any of the desires to move and see if you can remain still. And just anchor the awareness on the breath. Where can you soften in order to expand? How long is the in-breath? How long is the out-breath? You've got about 3 more breath cycles here. See if you can keep your body still. Nice work. Very gently, you'll inhale and come out, returning back to Virba 2. Go ahead and straighten your front leg long. Turn both toes parallel to the short edge of your mat or space. And just lower your arms by your side and see if you can remain still and just observe. Just still and just observe. What do you notice? Awesome sauce. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So now you'll bend your right knee. You'll turn your left toes in, your right toes out. Your right forearm will come to the top of your right thigh, or right hand will come down to a floor or block as your left arm extends up and overhead. Utthita Parsva Konasana on the opposite side. And then you'll again notice what you notice. How is the breath on this side? It's very funny, but these types of shapes really help you see the asymmetries in the body, just because on one side it feels so much easier to breathe than it does on the other. And maybe that's just a personal thing for me, but I want you to just notice what you notice for you. How long is your in breath? Can you match the out breath to the length of the inhalation? So we're working on this type of practice in particular because I've been taking this tantric course with my teacher. And in particular, he talks about tantric shakti. So we're learning the power, the energy that our practice has the potential to unleash in our lives. And there are 4 types of practice, essentially. There's the preparatory practice, where we basically tonify the body, we detox the body. Then there are the lunar stages of practice, which is what this falls into, where we try to calm and stabilize the mind. Then there are the solar stages of practice, where we harness our energy, direct our energy. And then there are the fire stages of practice, where we can really find a sense of absorption, illumination. And what he says time and again is that if we don't do these types of practice, our minds are not stable. And so when we start to build heat and we start to build fire, it becomes unattainable to sustain it. And it can only burn us out or exacerbate any weaknesses or imbalances that we already have. So you've got your last 2 breath cycles here, and I just want you to notice what you notice. How do you keep the mind calm and steady? On your next inhalation, you'll come back up to Virba 2. Go ahead and turn both feet parallel as you face the long edge of your space. Bring your hands down alongside your hips and just pause and breathe. And again, you're counting the length of your inhalation and you're counting the length of your exhalation, trying to find symmetry and balance to that. As you're ready, hands will come to touch your sit bones, your butt cheeks. And then you'll take a big breath in here, lifting up through the heart. And then exhale, slide your hands down the backs of the legs, the calves, all the way to the backs of the ankles, and fold all the way in for Prasarada, Padottanasana, Variation C. And once you get down, you might release the hands to the floor. They might walk underneath the shoulders, back behind the legs, or forward. Wherever you happen to find yourself, we want to first come to a still, neutral spot. And then again, I invite you to notice the length of your inhalation and notice the length of your exhalation. How does it feel to breathe in this type of pose? How does it feel to breathe in this specific pose? Do you find it easier to take a breath in? Do you find it easier to take a breath out? So we're working a lot on this breath because my teacher describes our breath and our mind to be like 2 fish that are the only 2 fish in their school for some reason. And they can manipulate and direct and influence one another. But the mind fish is a slippery fish, is how he describes it. And so the mind fish is kind of hard to direct. But the breath fish is a little bit easier to direct. And if we can direct the breath fish, we can direct the mind fish. So you've got about another minute and a half here. And I want you to just notice how your breath fish is doing. How long is your inhalation? How long is your exhalation? Finding the body in stillness allows you to start to pay more attention to the mind fish and the breath fish. And you're just simply observing, you're watching. The sensations come up, but you are not the sensations. How long is the in-breath? How long is the out-breath? Take your last 3 breath cycles here. And again, you're just observing, you're just witnessing, letting the body be still, letting the mind reveal itself to you. Nice job. Go ahead and inhale halfway up, hands underneath your shoulders. And then as you exhale, let's turn to face the top of your space and come to a low lunge. Low lunge. Mark. Great. From here, you'll step your front foot back and come into a plank pose. You might want to slide a block between your inner upper thighs if that works for you. If your wrists are bothering you, you can come down to forearms instead. But wherever you happen to be, we're going to first find that one long line in our spine. So hands under shoulders or elbows under shoulders, lightly hugging into the midline with your heart and sternum reaching forward. Now here, it becomes really important to count the length of your breath. How long is your inhalation? Can the exhalation be the same length? And you might observe, because this is a more challenging pose than any of the ones we've been in thus far, your breath might have shortened quite a bit. And that is okay. You just simply stay and you simply breathe and you count the breath. You can do this. You stay, you breathe, and you count the breath. You stay, you breathe, and you count the breath. What this type of practice reveals to us is that our bodies are actually a lot stronger than our minds give them credit for. And it's a perfect metaphor that we are so much stronger than our minds give us credit for. A lot of this mental chatter that comes up, at least for me, is not always the most supportive. And so we stay and we breathe and we count the breath. Notice the length of your inhalation. Notice the length of your exhalation. Notice that fidgeting is going to want to come up if it hasn't already. And you've got another 3 breath cycles here. You stay and you breathe and you count your breath. Nice job, guys. Gently lower all the way down to your abdomen. You can keep that block or lose that block. It's totally up to you. But just bring one ear to the mat and rest. Hands can slide back, or they can just lay exactly as they are. But you're going to just pause and breathe. And then in this shape, again, notice how long is the inhale? How long is the exhale? Different situations, just like different poses in life, affect our breath differently. And the more that we can connect to that, the more we can start to consciously choose how we're breathing, which will help us consciously choose how we're responding to any given moment. So you just come to stillness, you notice the breath, and you count the breath. All right, go ahead and bring your forehead to the mat. Plant your hands alongside your lowest ribs, and then reach your legs back and press the tops of the feet onto the floor. You can keep the block or lose the block, totally up to you, but you're going to straighten through your legs, lengthen your tailbone, buttocks, flesh back, and then isometrically start to pull your hands forward to pull your heart forward and lift your head up. Now continue to press into the tops of your toes, continue to lengthen back through your tailbone, buttocks, flesh, and continue to lightly hug the elbows towards each other, heart lifts forward. Now, as you're here in this shape, you again come back to the breath, counting the breath. As an encouragement, as an assistance, I would encourage you to breathe into your collarbones, into your upper ribs in order to make this more efficient. But you do whatever the heck works for you. I would encourage you to continue to lengthen or watch the breath and notice what happens here. Can the in-breath and the out-breath be equivalent? Can you keep the body as still as possible, even when you notice little fidgetings wanting to come up? Yep. How long is your in breath? How long is your out breath? How long is the inhalation? And how long is the exhalation? Take your last breath cycle here. And then at the end of your exhale, you'll slowly lower down and bring the opposite ear to the mat. Hands might swim back, and you just pause and you breathe and you just notice. And as you continue to just really anchor your awareness on the breath, on its length, you can start to pay attention next to the quality of that breath. You'll know when you've taken in too much breath or held it for too long or tried to force too much out, because the subsequent breath isn't smooth, it isn't easy, it isn't even. And so you'll just simply notice that, and that gives you a little indication that you need to or might want to soften a bit in your approach, soften a bit in the length or what you're striving to attain with the breath. All right, bring your forehead to the mat, bring your hands alongside your hips. Hands alongside your hips, so arms are straight. There we go. And you can turn your palms to face down and then press into the tops of your big toes and your pinky toes. Lengthen your tailbone, buttocks, flesh back, and lift up through your kneecaps. When you're ready, you'll draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back and lift your head just an inch. Then you might start to crawl your fingers back and slightly wide to lift your head up. Some of you will then reach your toes so far back that they'll float off the floor. Some of you will reach your hands so far back that they'll float off the floor. And some of you might squeeze your shoulder blades close enough together that you can interlace your hands behind you. But I encourage you to pick the option that enables you to still keep breathing pretty consistently and evenly. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe and you'll notice your breath. How long is your inhalation? How long is the exhalation? Can you keep the body still even as sensation starts to arise? What I find for me when I do this practice or these types of practices is that often I fight going into the sensation. And it often seems that my resistance towards just being with what is far more intense than when I allow myself to just welcome what is, be with what is. It might be a little bit of heat, might be a little bit of just, tightness or discomfort. But can you allow yourself to be with whatever is there? Take your last 3 breath cycles here. Noticing the length of the in-breath, the length of the out-breath. At the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll gently release the hands if you've got them and lower the chest back down to the floor. Now at this point, you can either bring an ear to the mat or stack your hands underneath your forehead, whatever feels best to you, but you've got about a minute here. And you're just going to pause and breathe. How long is your inhalation? How long is your exhalation? Awesome sauce. Bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Go ahead and tuck your toes under. You can either come up through plank pose or hands and knees. You'll make your way back to downward facing dog. You can keep that block if you still got it, or you can say sayonara, your choice. But we'll take our last time to just be here. And again, I want you to notice we've been in down dog before. So how does it feel this time? Where is the breath? How long is the breath? And what is the texture of the breath? Can you keep the body still in order to really connect to those subtle energies of the body? So in this tantric Ayurvedic approach towards practice, it's in this stage that we start to make it so we can tune into the subtle aspects of our prana. The solar stage is all about prana. It's all about your energy, your life force, your vitality. And to be able to really harness that energy, we have to let the mind calm down a bit so that it can become aware of it. The best way I like thinking about this is just kind of like our intuition. When we're so busy moving around and we've got so many things on our plates, it's sometimes hard to hear ourselves, to hear our innate creative spark, whether that's you being an actor performing and performer responding to the needs of a moment, whether that's you being a mom relating to your children, whether that's you being a friend responding to a loved one. When we're a little bit calmer in our own being, we can respond to the needs of the situation. And so we're just training ourselves to have that capacity. So again, how long is your in breath? How long is your out breath? As all the other stuff comes up, our anchor time and time again is just observing the breath, being with the breath. You've got your last 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your exhalation, gently lower your knees to the floor. Remove that block if you still got it. And then you'll swing your legs around in front of you and sit for Dandasana staff pose. Okay, so we'll just sit here for a moment. If your low back rounds a lot, you might sit your tuchus, your bum on a blanket and just sit. And you're just gonna sit as tall as you can, shoulders over your hips, legs as long and as straight as they can be. And you're just trying to remain as free from fidgets, as distractions as possible. Heart is open, gaze is steady at one point fixed in front of you. Can you just be still, even in this very simple shape? Awesome sauce. Okay, from here, you've either got options. You'll cross your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Your right foot can stay glued to the floor, or you can roll to the outside edge of your right shin bone, stacking the knee on top of the bottom ankle for Agni Stambhasana. And then you might have your blocks and just come forward and hinge at the hips. You might stay vertical, but you're either sitting upright for Sukhi Randrasana or you're folded in, but we're not going to travel between the two shapes. So you just pick one and stay there. And you just want to pause and you just want to breathe. Now, a lot of us, because of chronic sitting, feel lots of stuff come up in our hips. And again, you want to see if you can pause and if you can breathe. How long is your inhalation? How long is your out breath, your exhalation? Can you start to direct consciously that breath into that part of the body that feels like it might be talking to you? So it might be that outer left hip. So you keep the breath long, you keep it even and smooth. And then you can start to say, hey, breath, go to that left hip. Let it open up. Keep the body still as best as you can and just send the breath where you're feeling that sensation. How long is the in-breath and how long is the out-breath? Take your last 2 breath cycles here. And then gently, if you're in the seated Sukhirandrasana, you'll extend your right leg long, extend the left leg long, and we'll come back to Dandasana. And this time when you're in Dandasana, your hands might come back a little bit behind you, hug the elbows towards each other, shoulders onto back, heart lifts forward, and see if you can just rest the gaze. This is such a simple shape, and yet it has so much to offer us. So just pause and breathe. Let the gaze be steady. Let the heart remain lifted. How long is the in-breath and how long is your out-breath? Take your last breath cycle here. And then at the next, or at the end of your next exhalation, you'll switch sides. So you might cross that right ankle over your left thigh and bend your left knee. And your hands can be wherever works for you. So some of you will need your hands behind you, may want your hands behind you. Some of you can hold on to that front shin or that front foot. Some of you will come into Advisambhasana, but you're going wherever you went on the first side, most likely. And then you're going to bring your awareness just to the breath. How long is your inhalation? And how long is your exhalation? Fidgets will come up, but can you keep the body still and just focus on the breath? And you'll start to notice that then there will become involuntary things that'll happen in your hands, in your face. And you just want to be able to witness them, to observe them. And then again, you just come back to the breath. How long is your in-breath? And how long is your out-breath? The breath fish reflects the mind fish. So you knowing how smooth and steady and consistent your breath is gives you an indication of how smooth and steady and consistent your mind is. And one of the cool things about this is from a tantric perspective, they say that you can heal so many aspects of the subconscious, unconscious thinking patterns by simply just paying attention to the breath. It's perhaps that reason why so many people come to an asana practice, a yogic physical practice, and find that so many other aspects of their lives improve. It really is just as simple as paying attention to the breath. Take 2 more breath cycles here. And at the end of your exhalation, you'll gently come out of your shape, coming back to Dandasana. Both legs long. And you want to just see if you can sit. And for this one, hands can stay alongside the hips, Or your arms can reach up and overhead, but you're going wherever you can pause and breathe. How long is your inhalation? How long is your exhalation? Where do you notice that breath in the body? And as the body wants to fidget, you just allow your awareness to remain steady on the breath, letting the fidget come and go, but you don't, as best as you can, pay too much attention to it. You don't give into it. You just return to the breath. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, your third exhalation, you'll just simply lower the hands down. Some of you will keep your hands here and start to hinge forward. Some of you will reach your hands to grab the outer edges of your shins. Some of you will grab your feet. Now, I do encourage you, if your back is rounded, you might want to bend your knees just a bit. Flex through the feet. There you go. And then just find a spot here. Your head can drop forward if that feels good to you. And again, notice how long your inhalation is here. Notice how long your exhalation is here. Where do you feel the breath? Where do you feel sensation in the body? And can you remain still? One of the big traps I feel like I fall into quite often is this notion that I have to constantly be busy. I have to be doing something to find a sense of worth or purpose or meaning. And the practice starts to teach us that the less we do, the more we can experience our innate sense of being, our wholeness, our joy, our compassion, our strength. And whatever that might be for you, again, you just pay attention to the breath. How long is the inhalation? How long is the exhalation? How long is your in breath? How long is your out breath? Become aware of whether or not you're starting to sense something that feels more grounded and more calm, something beyond the sensation, something even beyond your thinking mind. Take your last breath cycle here. If you're holding your feet, you'll gently release the feet and inhale, start to walk the spine back up for Dandasana. Take a moment to pause. Hands either on the thighs or alongside your hips, and just breathe here. And then very gently, you'll start to make your way onto your back. And when you come onto your back, just pause. Notice what you notice. Where is the energy alive and alert to you in your body at this moment in time? Where is the breath? Does it feel more subtle than it did before? Is it still as active and vibrant as it was at the beginning of practice, or has it mellowed just a bit or a lot of bit? Just pause and breathe and notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and bend your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. Cactus or T your arms out to the side, whatever feels better to you. And then you'll push through your feet, lift your bum up, slide your bum over to the right, put your bum back down, and then take whatever supine twist you want with the legs to the left. So maybe both knees stack on top of each other to the left. Maybe your bottom leg is long and your top knee is bent. But you've got 2 minutes here. And I want you to just notice, or I invite you to notice, how the breath is working now. Notice the energetic state of your being. Do you feel calmer? Maybe a little introverted or sleepy? You're just pausing and you're breathing. How long is your in-breath? And how long is your out-breath? Continue to check in. How long is the in-breath? And how long is the out-breath? When we get into some of these more introspective poses, you might notice that your mind tends to wander. And that's completely okay. What we're trying to do, though, is most of us, in the words of, well, Judith Hanson Lassiter has a funny term for it, but most of us are very vata aggravated, meaning our vata is pretty high. And so we tend to mentally wander when it's pretty high. And we just want to ground it back by noticing that and bringing it back moment to moment, back to the tangible, what it can feel, what it can connect to, and that's your breath. Okay, gently release and you'll inhale and come back to center and just pause. Hips under shoulders, feet in line with hips, and just be still. Notice what you notice between the sides. See if you can be still and just observe and breathe and notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. We'll go ahead and try that on the other side. So arms teed out or cactus. Push through your feet, lift your bum up. Slide your bum over to the left and let the knees cascade over to the right. And you take whichever supine twist feels best to you. And then you just check in and see how you're doing on this side. I was reading Jessica Char's Heart of Yoga last night, and he really says that the only real purpose of yoga, or one of the meanings of yoga, is to really become present. So we use different modalities, different practices or techniques to help us become present. And for today, we're just working with the breath, noticing how long your inhalation is, and noticing how long your exhalation is. as well as this invitation to become still, to notice when we have a tendency to fidget, to see if it's out of habit, see if that habit is working for us, or if it's sending us down a path that may not be in alignment with where we wish to be in the future, or even where we wish to be fully now. So, as you're here for this last 45 seconds or so, I again encourage you to just notice the breath. How long is it coming in? How long is it going out? Does that stay consistent between the breaths, or does it vary between breaths? You'll take your last breath cycle here. And then gently you'll release and inhale, come back to center. And then you'll just pause. You'll notice what you notice. How long is the breath now? Nice work. Gently hug your knees into your chest. This is going to sound super weird, so we'll see how this goes. I want you to reach for the outer edges of your ankles or your shins, wherever you can touch. As best as you can, keeping your tuchus on the floor, you're going to start to straighten your feet or straighten your legs so your toes are over your face. So you're now in Upavista Paschimottanasana or Supta Paschimottanasana. So your feet are up over your eyeballs. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you will let the toes tip a little further back over your head, but keep as much of your low back on the floor, even as your butt lifts off. And some of you will be able to bring your thighs completely parallel to the sky. But you'll just pause and you'll breathe. So more of our weight is still on our upper back. The head stays centered. And again, you check in. How long is your in-breath here? How long is your out-breath here? The next stage of practice starts to dawn when you notice that there's a natural pause that comes between them. So you're not trying to force anything, but you notice that the exhalation, there's a bit of a pause before you need to take breath in again. And then at the top of the inhalation, there's a bit of pause before you need to send the breath out. And so we're just pausing and we're breathing and we're noticing what we notice. How long is your breath in and how long is your breath out? The end of your next exhalation, you'll gently bend your knees into your chest back to Apanasana, wind relieving pose. Some of you may choose next to take Supta Baddha Konasana. Some of you may choose to take Happy Baby. Some of you may take that weird Supta Baddha Konasana where you're just grabbing the soles of your feet and opening your knees super wide. But you've got about a minute here to just be in this version of a forward fold. So those last two shapes we did were forward folds. And you're just observing and noticing what feels like it's happening for you. Where is the energy in the body? How is the energy feeling in the body? How is your mind feeling? You've got 3 more breath cycles wherever the heck you happen to be. And then at the end of your third exhalation, I encourage you to set yourself up for your final resting pose. Whether that is Supta Baddha Konasana with the block supporting you, whether it's straight up old Shavasana, wherever you happen to go. If you are cold, I do encourage you to wrap the body either with a blanket or some clothing or some socks, whatever will enable you to really feel warm enough to come to stillness. Great. And so as you settle into your first few minutes in this shape, the first invitation is first and foremost to notice how you can bring the body into a comfortable stillness. So after you've taken those little micro adjustments that I'm sure you may have wanted to take or needed to take, you'll allow the body to now just rest. And to help prepare us for the next stage of our practice today, I encourage you to just allow the muscles to soften a bit more, to allow the bones to soften a bit more. This is really one of those shapes that there's nothing to do. And as the bones continue to settle into the floor and as the muscles continue to melt around the bones, you might begin to observe that the breath becomes more vibrant, more free. And for today, I invite you to bring your awareness to your navel center abdominal region. So that's the space just below the heart and above the pubic line. And just allow the awareness to rest in this space, in this cavity, observing as the body breathes in and observing as the body breathes out. You may observe that from time to time your mind might wander. And if so, no worries. We'll very gently guide it back to the abdominal region, watching the body breathe in and watching the body breathe out. And you'll remain with this practice of Nishta Dharna for a few more minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently release the technique and return your awareness. Just take a moment to observe and notice what you notice. Very consciously and deliberately, you'll start to make your way over to your right side, and you'll just pause there for a moment. Allow yourself to receive the support of the floor beneath you, and allow yourself to give your weight to the support that is beneath you. Begin to roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your top hand enough to release the bottom hand, and then press yourself to a tall seat. And I do encourage you to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. We're going to end with a bit of pranayama before we sit for a bit in meditation. So something underneath your bum would be helpful. And if your body gets cold, being wrapped would be helpful too. Okay, so today we're going to do something called Chandra Bedna. The hand position is the same as it is for Nadi Shodhana, but the breathing is different. So don't worry, I'll guide you through that. First things first, though, plant your hands on top of your thighs wherever you can so that your collarbones stay open, the shoulders just slide down the back, and then your ears roll over your shoulders. With your right hand, you might tuck your index finger into the base of your thumb, and then you can either let the palm face up or let the palm face down. Then taking your opposite hand, you'll bring it towards your face. So actually, your right hand will come to the right nostril, and ring finger will come to the outside edge. There you go. And then just gently allow your eyes to drop towards the floor. Exhale all the breath from your mouth. And then when you inhale, you'll just draw the breath in through your left nostril. Close the left nostril at the top of your inhalation and exhale out through the right. When you need to, you'll close the right and inhale back through the left nostril. Top of the inhalation, you'll close your left nostril and exhale out through the right. And you'll just continue that practice for the next few minutes, always inhaling through your left and exhaling through the right. And again, just as we did at the very beginning of class, or rather throughout the practice, you're noticing how long the in-breath is, and seeing if you can let the out-breath be that same length. So what this type of practice does in particular is it's building stability. It's building stability not only in our breath, it's building stability in our body, but more importantly, it's building stability in our mind and in our heart. So by breathing in at the same rate and breathing out at the same rate, you're starting to fortify yourself in a very conscious, unconscious, yet deliberate way. And just as we did throughout, you want to notice if you can soften any unnecessary tension so that you just receive the breath. You can just simply allow the breath to go when it's ready to go. Go ahead and complete the round that you're on, and then just simply lower the right hand as you exhale. Continue to sit tall through the spine and just bring your awareness to your nostrils, noticing the breath as it comes in and noticing the breath as it comes out. To make sure that we complete our practice with a sense of stability and nourishment, bring your awareness back to your abdomen and just allow your awareness to rest here, watching the breath enter and watching the breath exit. So, from a tantric Ayurvedic perspective, we bring our awareness back to the navel because this is the house of Rudra. And Rudra is said to be the most generous, nurturing, benevolent form of Shiva. Shiva represents the transformative aspects in our lives. And when we allow our awareness to really rest in the center, doing Nishtadharana, concentrating our energy in the abdominal solar plexus region, we're inviting the marrying of our apana, which is the breath, the energy that allows us to let go of things. We're allowing the marrying of the apana with the marrying of the prana. And the prana is that inspiration, it's the things that invite things in. So as we spend the next few moments here, your awareness may start to settle, might start to drift. But we want to keep drawing it back to our navel, back to where Rudra lives, so that we can allow Rudrani to come. That's the energy, the vitality that allows us to take life's experiences and let the transformation be a benevolent one, a kind one, a nurturing one. Gently release the technique and just take 3 natural breaths, allowing yourself to feel wherever the breath is most vibrant, most alive for you now. At the end of your 3rd exhalation, bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Take a moment to pause, to say an internal prayer of gratitude for whatever transformation is happening within your own life, your own existence. Saying thanks to the Rudra, the Rudrani that exists within us to make that transformation be as beneficial, as nurturing, as kind, as benevolent as it ultimately can be. Gently bow your chin towards your chest. And then we'll complete by saying, the light within me honors the light within you. Namaste.